Hey guys, welcome back to Margo Watches Movies. My name is Jake Margo. Tonight we're reviewing episode 4 of FX Hulu's new show, The Lowdown, starring Ethan Hawke. Let's get right to it. I think tonight was a fantastic episode of television. I think it was firing on all cylinders. I think it was a great showcase for the confidence and assuredness that Sterling Harjo, the showrunner, creator, writer, is exhibiting. I think the craftsmanship on display is quite evident to me. And in a lot of ways, this show kind of reminds me of the early days of Breaking Bad. I think it's a little bit more humor filled. I think, obviously, we're talking about two different types of story structures and just overall plots, but it's the confidentness, it's the attention to detail, it's the way that Sterling shoots the city of Tulsa and adds so much life and ambiance, much like Vince Gilligan was able to accomplish with Albuquerque. And the character that Tulsa itself serves in this show, along with the way he allows plot points to unfold to the viewer, I think is just really, really well done. I think there was one scene in particular that was an absolute standout to me tonight, and that doesn't even include the really great cliffhanger ending. But where you have this expectation of where the scene is going to take you. And I will say, by the end of the scene, you have arrived at the destination you thought the scene was going to take you, but the way that it gets there and it unfolds in such a chaotic yet controlled way, where the ride of this show is so much worth it to me, depending no matter where we end up on the destination, right? And I'll get into some plot points. I didn't review last week's episode. I have a job where it just got too busy, but I'll touch on that at the very end. But focusing on this week, I'm going to go into a couple major plot points. I'm not going to do a full recap. I'll obviously give a score, but I just want to start briefly, like where the episode begins, which is Lee, along with his daughter, are Lee Rayborn, Ethan Hawke's character, are in this diner with the notes that they've retrieved from the end of episode 3 out of all the books. And they're getting to know Brother Washburg, the gentleman that unalived himself at the start of the pilot. They're getting to, and the little bit of writing here I think was a funny joke. The perfunctory, the way that this guy is writing these letters, like he's assuming this is going to be a book one day, and like Lee kind of making fun of his prose and his writing structure, was a funny joke to me in a subtle way. But him and his daughter, who I think is the rare case of like teenager in a show like this, that she's actually elevating scenes she's in. She doesn't seem to exhibit any of the like annoying teenage tropes. If anything, they go too far and write her so intelligent that a lot of times, and I think it's true whenever you focus on like a character similar to Ethan Hawke's, this kind of like determined but underachiever in a sense, who is kind of lazy and whimsical like he is. Like we've seen this character before, we just haven't seen it shaded in with it from an actor of Ethan Hawke's status and talent, right? But there always seems to be like he in this situation, especially the scenes with his daughter, where he's like this jubilant golden retriever, and he sees the truth as this tennis ball, and he just wants to fetch it, right? And she almost serves as the adult in the room, reining him in, keeping his like crazy ideas tempered and restrained, where she almost comes off as a parent. And I do think it would serve her well later on in life. But she has a lot more responsibility than the average child, I think they mentioned she's 13, would seem to have. And it really comes at the behest of Ethan Hawke's character and the autonomy he gives her. He treats her with respect and like an adult. And I think that's why it works, is he's not kidding her. He tells it to her straight. And if he doesn't, she calls him out on it. So I really like their dynamic. And as they're going through these letters and finding more out, the plot is actually revealed to us. We get some really great revelations in this show that I think a lesser show would try and carrot stick us all the way to the end. But no, they're letting the layers of this mystery unravel one peel at a time. And I'm all for it. And we got several good peels as far as the layers go of this story today. Were showcased to us. Now, you also got a lot more behind the scenes look at Alan, the redhead, terrifying villain of this show so far, at least like the main henchman, right? And seeing him at an anonymous meeting discussing his past of sobriety, his struggle with addiction, you get the sense that it was more than likely Kyle MacLachlan's character, another Brother Washburn running for governor, who pulled him out of this hellhole of addiction. And it adds this new dimension to him, where he goes beyond just kind of this one note murderous henchman, right? There's this duty, there's this sense of obligation instilled in him from being pulled out of the depths of hell, from who he probably sees as a guardian angel. But, you know, the actions and his duty, I guess, to fulfill the second chance at life that this person gave him, which we can presume is Kyle MacLachlan, is what drives and motivates him to commit the actions that we've seen him commit so far in this show. And I thought that was a really deft piece of writing. It adds layers to a character that would have been fine without it. I wouldn't have even minded this character with mystery, but it serves his character well. And as we find out later in the episode, it seemed to be a reason why we got to know him like that. And it's definitely a cliffhanger that has me going, well, what the fuck? Where's this show going? In a good way, in a really good way. Now, I think the absolute standout scene, I touched on it earlier, is it's this extended sequence between Ethan Hawke and Jean Triplehorn, pictured behind me, the grieving widow. He's following her. She lets him pull up beside her, says, let's go get dinner. Dinner turns to drinks. And you get the sense that these two are definitely after something from the other. We obviously know Lee wants to figure out what he read in the letters from the deceased Washburn. He wants to know her role in it. He wants her to verify certain things he's read. And you kind of expect it to just be this straightforward interrogation, but you know, we kick off in this diner of her just laying into him for writing these articles and you know, targeting their family in a sense, bringing them into the public eye. She seems to blame him in a way for her now deceased husband, often himself. But then the scene pivots and we move to them going to a bar and having a drink. And you expect, oh, are they about to hook up? And then they end up back at the house and the song and dance is coming. And you expect them to like a normal show, they would fuck and then they would fight. She might give him a piece of info and we'd feel like, oh, he was so close, but he didn't get there. But no, this literal gunshot goes off. Writer-creator Starlin Harjo throws a gun into the mix. And instantly, the scene just elevates when she points the gun at him. You viewer like, what is going on? Is she in it? She's in it? Does she lure him like a black widow to kill him? And then it becomes a joke. But then the gun discharges and it discharges again. And it drops this little flirtatious song and dance they were doing. And we get into this real substantive conversation of him grilling her on, I know this about the letters. I know two men revealed to be the skinheads that Arthur kills in the first two episodes were sent to that house to kill him. He writes about it in his letters. He calls her out on that. He says, I know that you and Donnie, Kyle MacLachlan, are having an affair. And we get this conversation I never would have expected to happen in episode 4 of this show. And so much is unveiled. And then, after all that, they're outside having a smoke. She thanks him for the night. She walks in, but she leaves the door open. And he follows her upstairs and sexy time commences. And at the end of it, did what I expect happen? Yes. He got info out of her. He's Lee Rayborn. He rizzed her up and he slept with her. But there's so many extra dimensions to the scene that just make it click and fire on so many cylinders that it just is a showcase of this writer's ability and the command he has and the story he wants to tell. And it's very Vince Gilligan-esque, I think, in that way. It's not the straight line it took from A to B. It could have done that, but it zigged and it zagged, and it created this level of tension that didn't necessarily need to be there, but it elevated the scene into something remarkable. And maybe you think I'm glazing too hard on what seemed like a meaningless scene, but to me, this is something, and it's especially important in television because you have so many writers who fatten and pattern out their run times. They go, it should be a 6-episode series, it's 8, or vice versa. But here's a guy who is using his filler time. He's adding layers to his characters. He's fleshing them out, giving them dimensions, making them feel real, lived in a lived-in world. And it's immersive to the viewer. It transports you into this story. And I think especially in a genre like this, where you have the mystery, you have the pulp noir crime angle, you have these conspiracies, it's important to give a sense of grounding. And he uses Tulsa, the city, as a wonderful backdrop for that. And he uses these characters to where even when we're in a crazy situation like week 3, like last week's episode where Lee finds himself at a caviar meth farm, whatever. In a lesser show, it could have felt comical. And honestly, I didn't like episode 3 like I liked it, but it didn't blow me away or anything like this episode did. But there's the confidence there, knowing that this showrunner knows exactly the ride he's going to take us on. It remains to see what the destination looks like, but the journey, this show is firing on all cylinders. So, and then the cliffhanger, Alan. Well, fuck you, Hulu. Alan getting shot in the neck. Wow. Where the fuck did that come from? Did he die? I think he died. Him waking up, the jolt. This is just something that this show is doing. And here's a guy who could have been the series bad and been a great villain. Like, this guy has this quiet, terrifying demeanor about him. Yet he makes a call. I need help cleaning up these bodies I threw in the river. Who's he talking to? Is it the guy he was talking about in the meeting? Was it Kyle MacLachlan? Clearly, he pissed off someone and they put a hit on him. I mean, I don't know what's this new dimension come from. We haven't even gotten to Peter Dinklage yet, who's all over the marketing. We're about to be on episode 5. When does he come in? Like, how much better is this show going to get? So, I'm enamored by what I'm watching. I think this is phenomenal television. I think this is rivaling Severance for this year's best show. We'll see how it ends, but this was a great episode to me. Great. I'll give it a 9.2 out of 10. And that's a real high score, I think. So let me know what you guys thought in the comments below. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but Hulu wants me to look like a jackass. I guess I do. But give me a like, give me a subscribe if you like the review, guys. Getting close to 100. I'm in the 90s now, so every new subscriber helps. I'm going to take this journey. We'll be doing the Lowdown all the way through. I don't care how many seasons there are. I'm going to keep reviewing and watching this show because it is awesome. So that's all for tonight. My name is Jake Margo. This is Margo Watches Movies. And as always, guys, thanks again for tuning in. See you next time.